in Bulawayo. So I know what it is that you were watching. And in Bulawayo, when I spoke, I remarked about what I heard someone speak to here. The issue of the only comment we have received so far from the then President Robert Mugabe was when he said it was an act of madness. And my comment in Bulawayo were, I am concerned. When you say it was an act of madness, the first question which comes into my mind is, who was mad? We need to know who was mad, because not identifying those who was mad puts us at a risk. What if they are still roaming the streets? If they are still roaming the streets, the next question is, have they been treated or are they still mad? The actions which people have spoken to whilst I was sitting there, the continuation of torture, the continuation of abductions, is a reflection that the mad people are still roaming the streets. So while the government might have acknowledged that it was an act of madness, we have a problem when mad people are allowed to roam the streets. In a system in which there are mad people, we have mental institutions where people are taken for commitment. We're not supposed to have some of such people be taken for commitment, so that they are committed and they are treated and that they are well, so that thereafter, as a country, we can live at peace, we can live at harmony with each other. But over and above that, we take note of the memorialization initiatives that the communities have now been doing, some actually for themselves. It is good to memorialize. I think all of us have relatives who have passed away. We have been encouraged to put tombstones so that we remember. Colleagues of mine who have been to my rural home actually see how we have so done well in memorializing my grandparents, my parents, and some of our relatives who passed away, because they are part of our history, and we want to always remember them that way. I feel proud myself every time I visit my rural home and I go to our very well-designed graveyard. Talk to my colleagues who I took there once, and they will tell you it's possibly the best graveyard other than Glen Forest that they have ever been to. For the simple reason that we want indeed to memorialize. So when we look at national events such as this and we say, let's memorialize, it is because we want to remember the past. We want to remember those things that happened, but we remember them as a way also of venting out, as a way of giving in, as a way of trying to forgive each other. There are certain things, like even as children, as we're growing up, that we might not have done correct with our parents. But you actually believe at a certain time when you put a tombstone there, you are saying sorry for all the wrong things that I did, and I'm happy to have done this in order to remember you. And if you actually are a believer, then you say a prayer or two about those particular issues. So when we are talking about memorialization and when we are doing all these things, we are saying, let's not forget, but let's also be futuristic in the manner in which we look at this particular issue. I went to Cholocho when one of the memorial sites was built and unveiled. And one of the issues that came to my mind was that memorialization should just not be about plaques. Memorialization should be about development. Memorialization should be about not forgetting the people who were there. I went with colleagues to Cholocho, and I then replaced my then director, who then said, "Do I have an engagement, and I'm afraid if I go into Cholocho, I might not then be able to attend one meeting which is visual." And yeah, I thanked God later on to say, yeah, I think he was inspired. Because the minute we got into Cholocho, we lost network, and for 6 hours, we did not have network. And you think about it and you say, but in this age and time, why can't the government just do the correct thing and ensure that people there are reachable? The road network is poor. Schools, I think they are about 20, 30 kilometers away. And then there is no network. You think about other issues such as clinics, water. All those things are part of what the government can do to say we remember. Part of it that we say, then as we develop, let's remember, but let's move forward. And one of the issues which I also heard people speak about here, which I mentioned, and which has been appropriate, is the issue where people continue to speak to this issue from a tribal particular basis. Certainly, yes, there are certain things, wrong things, which the government did, and the government has to acknowledge some of these particular issues. But I said in Bulawayo last week that I get concerned, and at times I get shy when I go, like when we went to Cholocho and you start speaking in Shona. It was that issue. Mashona we are foot, wadzoka, and things like that. People are concerned to say, what is it that we have brought this time? But the issue really should go beyond that. I said maybe just as an act in which the government had to show that we are together, now we are committed. Maybe at some point they should simply have said in primary school, we all do Shona and Ndebele in English as a starting point, so that we are all able to converse. You go to South Africa, and how big as it is, people are able to converse in different ways, in different languages. So it is important that we all be united as Zimbabweans. We all do not take this as a tribal issue. We all accept that this is an issue which affected us all, but we all work together to ensure that it's resolved. We are aware of the government chiefs-led initiative, which seemed to have died a natural death. Surely it is not going to enable people to be able to speak. We need people to speak out. We need government to acknowledge what it is that we did. The gentleman who spoke last also said the documentary ought to have also have heard the government's voice. But at the moment we know the government's voice. We know what Charamba said. We know the defense that they have proffered when they have destroyed plaques previously built. And when you destroy, you are hiding the truth. But you can't hide the truth forever. So we want to encourage people to do more as we continue with the erection of these memorial sites, because people have to be remembered, the incident has to be remembered, and the government has to accept responsibility. And it can only happen if all of us together push the government to say, government, accept responsibility, so that as we all say it will never again will it happen. And at the last, and when eventually we say never again, it should actually be the truth, and it should not be never again, but it happens again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you all take lessons from this.